"I'm your daughter, not your personal ATM," I said, and my mother slapped me. In front of everyone. It was during a family dinner that they had forced me to attend. My father sat at the head of the table with a smug smile, my brother Ryan scrolled on his phone, and my mom waved a printout of luxury cruise tickets in my face like it was a wedding invitation. "We've been working so hard lately," she said, "and we deserve a break. You should cover it, it's only fair since you live alone and have no kids." Subscribe for more shocking revenge stories, hit like if you believe in karma, and share this with someone who needs to see what real payback looks like. I looked around the table, stunned. Fair? After everything I'd done for them? After all the times I helped pay their rent, fixed their car, paid for Ryan's hospital bills, they still had the audacity to demand a luxury trip? And not once, not even once, did they ask how I was doing. I was quiet for a moment. But inside, something snapped. Mom leaned in and said, "We already reserved the suite. You'll just have to transfer the money tomorrow." That's when my brother laughed. "Don't act broke now, Chloe. You've got a decent job, right? Or is that fake too?" The entire table burst into laughter at me. What they didn't know was that the decent job I'd been working was a front. Behind the scenes, I'd been building something far bigger. Something no one at that table even deserved to know about. But tonight? Oh, they'd learned, because they hadn't just crossed a line, they set the whole bridge on fire. And I wasn't going to put it out, not this time. I didn't say a word after that dinner. Not when Mom texted me the cruise link with a smiley face. Not when Dad called twice the next morning asking when I'd send the money. And not when Ryan posted a story on Instagram bragging, "Vacation loading, thanks sis." They really thought they had me wrapped around their fingers. But that's the thing, once you realize you're just a wallet to your own family, something inside you changes. They'd spent years calling me too sensitive, too dramatic, or just average. When I graduated top of my class, they didn't come. When I landed my first internship, they said, "Let's see how long it lasts." And when I moved out to chase my dream, they laughed and told relatives I'd be back home in 6 months. Well, it had been 6 years, and in those 6 years, I built an online business empire no one saw coming. What started as a digital marketing side hustle had quietly exploded into a 7-figure agency with clients across the country. I kept my name off the website, used a different business email, even registered everything under a parent company, because I knew if my family found out, they'd try to leech off it. I wasn't going to give them that chance. But now they'd pushed too far. And I wasn't just going to say no, I was going to make sure they'd never forget the moment they tried to use me. So I made a plan. First, I called the cruise line. I upgraded their tickets to the VIP tier. I even added a few special surprises to their package. Then, I emailed them confirmation using a fake assistant named Jessica, and let them believe I'd finally caved. Mom was thrilled. She said, "You're finally acting like family." But she had no idea she'd just accepted the most expensive humiliation of her life, because the real show hadn't even started yet. 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a family group text. "Mom, boarding now. The suite is amazing. You really went all out. Red heart, Ryan. This jacuzzi is bigger than my apartment. Skull. Dad, proud of you, Chloe. Maybe you're not so selfish after all." Selfish, I stared at the messages, heart thudding, not with sadness anymore, but with cold satisfaction. They were floating in luxury, thinking they'd won. They didn't know the cruise was a business-themed retreat, filled with entrepreneurs, investors, and CEOs. Every guest had paid thousands to attend networking events, financial workshops, and private panels. All except my family, of course. They'd be the only ones there with no idea what was happening, and I made sure every brochure, every welcome speech, every activity was business-related. They weren't going on a luxury vacation, they were walking into the belly of my empire. See, I was the keynote speaker on day 2. My company was the lead sponsor. My face? Plastered on every banner, every cocktail napkin, every welcome gift, and when Mom texted me, confused, saying, "Mom, this doesn't look like a normal cruise, everyone keeps asking us what business we run," I just replied, "Me." Smile, Mom. You're about to find out. And the next morning, when they walked into that massive ballroom filled with hundreds of high-level professionals, all standing and clapping as I took the stage, their jaws hit the floor. I stood under the spotlight, in a sleek black suit, mic in hand. and smiled directly at them. Before I begin, I said, I want to thank 3 people in this room, who unintentionally made me who I am today. Their faces went pale, the room went silent. I could feel their eyes burning into me from the back row, Mom clutching her handbag like it could shield her from what was coming, Dad frozen in place, Ryan nervously checking his phone like it could teleport him out of there. But I didn't flinch. These 3 people, I continued, never supported my dreams. In fact, they mocked me, used me, and made me feel worthless. They told me I'd fail. They laughed when I started my business in a tiny apartment, eating instant noodles just to save enough for my first ad campaign. The audience was locked in. A few heads turned toward my family. The camera crew panned slowly across the crowd, every reaction being broadcast live on the giant LED screen behind me. They made me feel like a burden, but they accidentally gave me a gift. They taught me how to work in silence. How to turn pain into purpose. How to build something no one could take away. The crowd erupted in applause. My mother's face was bright red. My dad tried to act cool, like he wasn't sweating bullets. Ryan? He was suddenly very interested in the buffet table. Then came the real sting, and to thank them, I paused, letting the room quiet again. I gifted them this cruise. A front row seat to what success really looks like. And a reminder that next time you try to humiliate someone, make sure they're not secretly building an empire. You could feel the gasp ripple through the room. People turned and stared. My family looked like they'd seen a ghost, but I wasn't done. After the speech, a line of attendees gathered to meet me. Business cards, praise, photo requests. I walked past my family like they didn't exist, but just before I exited the ballroom, I turned back and said loud enough for them, and the entire room, to hear, enjoy your luxury trip. It's the last thing you'll ever get from me. Their humiliation was complete, but the best part, I thought they'd leave the ship early. Hide in their room. Vanish out of embarrassment, but no, my mother had the audacity to approach me at the private dinner reception that night, wearing pearls and a fake smile. Chloe, you didn't have to embarrass us like that, she said, her voice trembling just beneath the surface. You could have told us. We're your family. I sipped my wine calmly. Family doesn't manipulate. Family doesn't steal. And family doesn't treat you like a piggy bank. Dad chimed in with a tired chuckle. Come on, sweetheart. It was just a vacation. You're successful now, what's a few $1,000s to you? That's when I pulled out the envelope. Inside was a breakdown of every dollar I'd spent on them over the years: rent, medical bills, broken down cars, last-minute emergencies, birthday gifts I could barely afford back then. It totaled over $187,000. I placed it on the table and said, You want to talk about a few thousand? Start there. My brother scoffed. Wow. You kept receipts? I leaned in, looked him dead in the eye, and said, No. I kept memories. The receipts were just easier to show. He rolled his eyes. So what, you're cutting us off now? I smiled. No, Ryan. I cut you off years ago. You just didn't notice because you were too busy pretending to be better than me. Mom's hands were shaking now. But you can't just erase us from your life. We're blood. And that's when I stood up, gathered my things, and looked at her one last time. You're right. Blood is permanent. But access? Access is earned. Then I turned and walked away, not with anger, not even with pain, but with power. I spent the rest of that cruise surrounded by people who respected me. Who saw me as a leader. Who didn't try to leech off me but instead wanted to learn from me. I hosted panels. Gave interviews. Sealed deals. Signed 2 new clients worth over $600,000 annually, and my family, they stayed hidden for the rest of the trip. I heard whispers that Mom cried in the spa. That Ryan tried to flirt with one of the investors and got laughed at. That Dad drank a little too much at the bar and mumbled about being betrayed. But they weren't betrayed, they were exposed. When the cruise ended, they tried one last time. Mom sent a message, let's talk when we get back. We can fix this. I left it on read. Months passed. No calls. No visits. Just silence, and then one day, I got an invitation in the mail. A family reunion. Ryan was getting married. I was listed on the RSVP card as guest, please bring a gift. I didn't reply. Instead, I made a quiet donation, $10,000, to a scholarship fund in my hometown for girls who wanted to start their own businesses. I attached a note for the daughters who were told they weren't enough. Because that's the thing about revenge, sometimes the most powerful kind isn't loud. It's not shouting. It's not fighting. It's success. Quiet, undeniable success, and knowing the same people who tried to destroy you now have to live with the fact that you don't need them anymore, not their approval, not their love, not even their apology, just distance, permanent, powerful distance, and that, right there, was the sweetest luxury of all.